Today I'm covering a timeline that I swore I would get to, but I knew it would take a while because it's, well, complicated, as you'll soon see, and I couldn't quite figure out the best way to handle it. But I think I've got it now, and it's the Anaconda series. So I basically went back and forth, and it's now taking me 7 years to declare that no, in fact, that Nicki Minaj video is not canon. We begin in 1997 with Anaconda, which starts right away by letting you know that the main creature is a badass by having Machete shoot himself rather than face it. Then we have Jenny from the block researching a tribe, and it says that the pictures were taken in 1995, so we're set after that. And then fired Marty McFly shows up, and they're on the hunt for a lost tribe. Then she teams up with Doughboy.
Yeah, well, today's a good day.
Aw, he said the thing. Also on their trip is Van Pelt, Sing Along with Kari, and a male model. They're a documentary crew, and they head into the rainforest, and along the way they have to rescue the Midnight Cowboy, who has some sort of accent, I don't know.
Paraguay.
Really?
I started out studying for the priesthood, but then I needed to see the real world.
I'm sure someone recognizes what Voight is doing here, but I do not.
A salad would be perfect. Little baby bird.
Danny is listening to Faux Life, a song that came out in '95, so again, past that. And while diving, Steven encounters a poison wasp that he has an allergic reaction to, and they have to do a tracheotomy to save his life.
What the hell is this?
Anaconda skin.
Is snakes out there this big?
Serrano basically takes over the boat, leading down a blocked off area, and there's a newspaper here that's from 1996. So again, we're post that, so it's looking more and more like we're in real-time 97 here, and it's revealed that it was Serrano's entire goal to get to this boat and retrieve the stolen items on it. Mateo is the first victim of the giant snake with a half-practical thing that looks pretty cool, and a very 1997 CG version as well. Gary throws in with Cerrone and it attacks the boat, and wow, it gets Gary, and meanwhile, Eric Stoltz was all like, "You want to pay me to be in this movie, but then just be knocked out on a bed the whole time and basically only be there for like 3 days of shooting? I'm in." When they tie Cerrone up, he kills Denise while the big guy takes out Westridge, but Terry manages to shoot it right in the face, killing it. Everything seems safe now, but in actuality, they're in some sort of weird time loop in which waterfalls run backwards. Wow. Yes, that really made it into the movie. In a final face-off with Cerrone, it turns out that there's another bigger snake here too, and it swallows Angelina's dad whole, but then pukes him up, and I guess he winks for some reason. And you know, I love me some practicals, but did you ever notice when they mix them with CG, it's like the fake ones move like lightning, like they're super fast, but when it switches back to the real prop ones, they have the real limited range of motion, which makes the switch up even more noticeable. They blow Snakes up, but it's still coming until Ice Cube hits him with an ice pick axe. Okay, that was reaching. It wasn't even a pickaxe. It's just an axe. And then, oh, now Steven's up and around, sure. And they find the lost tribe. So, without a confirmed date, but knowing it was at least post-96, let's say it's real-time 97. There was actually a 7-year gap until a follow-up occurred, and they took the Aliens route with 2004's Anacondas, the hunt for the blood orchid. Kinda weird considering that there actually were Anacondas in the first one, not just one, and this starts off with another giant snake loose in the jungle. We then have Morris Chestnut, and sure, I can refer to him as a character from another movie, but when your name is Morris freaking Chestnut, I'm gonna call you that because it's too cool not to. They're talking about a flower called the blood orchid that was discovered in 1892, and it blooms every 7 years for only 6 months, and could be a sort of fountain of youth. But they only have 2 weeks to go try to find it. So they head to Borneo with Grudge Girl and an assortment of very pretty people. And first up, they wrestle a big old croc and eventually make a wrong turn and go over a waterfall, which destroys their boat. So they have to hike it through the jungle. Our big guy eventually attacks, eating one of them.
What the hell was that thing?
Anaconda.
Oh, great.
There's snakes out here that big?
Yeah.
Call back. Cole says that he knew a guy that was on a documentary crew that went to the Amazon and they all got eaten by snakes, indicating that he knew Danny from the first film. They have some leech issues, poison spider issues, and when their rescue ride is destroyed, they realize that it's mating season, so there's quite a few of them in the area. They discover that the snakes have been eating the orchids, prolonging their lives, and since snakes get bigger the longer they live, they've grown to giant size. You cannot argue with that science. Dr. Jack double-crosses the group when they want to abandon the hunt, paralyzing Gordon, who is then eaten. Tran is the next to go, eaten underwater, and Jack finds the orchids, but they also find the mating ball. The doc gets bitten by the poison spider and falls into the pit and is eaten. The snakes attack, and in a moment that's absolutely nothing like Jaws, they throw a fuel tank in one's mouth and then shoot it with a flare, causing an explosion that kills them all. The remaining flowers are lost, and there's no date again since they're mostly in the jungle, but real time makes sense, especially since they went out of their way to say that the flowers bloom every 7 years, meaning that the first film was 7 years earlier and in line with real time. And in fact, both 1997 and 2004 are in 7-year increments from that 1892 date, so they both make sense for the blood orchid to be in bloom. Even though it made quite a bit of money, the second one was considered a disappointment. So 4 years later, in 2008, Anaconda 3 Offspring went straight to the Sci-Fi Channel. This one starts off with the OG Nick Fury leading a group of guys in the jungle who are attacked by a giant snake. The practical effects are gone, replaced by this thing. Sala is here as the head of a pharmaceutical corporation that has captured a giant one and are trying to extract the blood orchid serum from it, but it turns out that the flower effects are fatal to humans, so they're trying to figure out why the snakes can handle it, but we can't. Amanda here is their herpetologist on staff, and when it gets a little freaked out, it breaks free and now has some sort of spear tail and sets free the female that they have there as well, and man, does this look goofy. They call in a team to get the snake back, and they confront it in a barn, and I guess it's bulletproof, or at least bullet resistant, and seriously, how am I supposed to look at this thing and not laugh? This is like Snake in Resident Evil 1 bad right here, but at least that was like the 90s. And oh yeah, this one spits out a venomous acid in people's faces. But I guess like a certain vagina-faced alien, it can't see you if you're lightly covered in mud. But then, like Deep Blue Sea, it turns out that the only reason that they were doing well with their experiments is because they were tampering with the snake's DNA. Like they even said that one of the results would be curing Alzheimer's. And the female one is pregnant, and they give chase to try to kill it before it gives birth. Nick is able to kill the male one in a whole heroic sacrifice bit, but Hammett double crosses them because he wants a live baby one, but Amanda wounds him and sets a bomb. The babies are born and attack Hammett, but the bomb goes off, killing them as well as the queen. But there's one left, and one of Murdoch's men gets it and takes it to him. Again, no date here, so real-time '08 works, and there's no connections at all to the other films here, with the brief exception of a minor discussion of the blood orchid. Parts 3 and 4 were filmed back to back, so 1 year later, 2009's Anaconda's Trail of Blood also premiered on the Sci-Fi Channel. The opening gives us Peter, who caught the baby snake at the ending of the last one, now doing tests on it, which is weird because he was like a mercenary in the last one, but now he's a scientist, I guess. They're doing tests with regeneration because, you know, after 2 giant snakes annihilate a bunch of people, what you want them to do is be able to heal really quick, right? There's also another captive, large one, which of course escapes and kills him. Murdoch is back and hires a mercenary to find out what happened and also find and kill Amanda, who is back as well and on the hunt for more snakes. They find more blood orchids blooming, but they also find the anaconda. So if they're blooming, then we're 7 years after the second film, so it's 2011, I suppose, which makes sense, giving that snake 3 years to grow giant size through the DNA tampering. It's killed by a cave-in, but manages to regenerate, and they bring back the spider from the second film, and eventually they link up with a group of paleontologists, and the snake is, I guess, slightly less derpy this time around, but only like 6.3%. The mercenaries find them, and when Amanda talks about searching for the flowers and snakes, she makes it sound like it's been a while, so the 3 years sounds about right. And eventually, Murdoch shows up himself, and there's a confrontation between the various groups involved. Turns out that the serum works, but after taking it, Murdoch is killed by the snake, and Amanda blows up the research lab. At the end, they kill the last remaining mercenary, but the snake escapes into the forest, since this was intended as a possible pilot for a TV series, although nothing ever came of that. So that was it for the Anaconda series, but wait, you say, isn't there one more? Well, yes there was, but we're gonna find out all about that one next week. So there you have it, 4 Anaconda movies, which I guess have a sort of continuity. Most of them are not really connected to each other. The first and second one have a very, very base connection, but not really. The third and fourth one are certainly, back to back. They were shot back to back, so they do have a continuity, but they don't really have continuity with the other ones before that, except for the involvement of the blood orchid. None of the characters come back, none of it's mentioned, so it's kind of its own thing. And yet these were, they're fine. The first one is a lot of fun. It's silly monster movie in the Amazon. It's kind of cool. I get a kick out of the first one. The rest of them are all decent, but they're all very standard sci-fi giant monster movies. You've seen a million of them at this point, and they're really not much different than any of those others. But they're fine. I'm not mad at any of these. They're okay watches. If you've seen them and you enjoy them, let me know that down below in the comments. Let me hear what you think about the Anaconda movies, and maybe which one I'm missing. Maybe before I get to it next week. Tell me that. If you enjoyed this video, of course, hit that like button, hit subscribe if you want more content from this channel, hit the little bell if you want notified when those videos come out, and of course check out my Patreon page at patreon.com/movietimelines, and you can get some support going for this channel like these guys over here do, and I thank them, but I also just thank you for watching, and we'll see you very, very shortly for another great video. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.